Welcome. This presentation is entitled Buy Your Dream Home in Denver 5 Secrets to Stress-Free Home Ownership. I'm going to cut right to the chase and get right to the good stuff right now. So, who is this for? Well, this is for anyone who is planning to buy a home in the Denver area this year. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to know if Denver is right for you and your family, how to know what is the right neighborhood around Denver for your family. I'm going to describe how to really find the best local professionals to work with. It's so important to work with the best in a service industry. And how to be completely at peace with the mortgage process. I'm going to give you a step-by-step process to buying your dream home in the Denver this year. Guys, sit back and relax. There's nothing for sale here at all on our webinar. This is just information in order to help out our community. Now, does this sound like you at all? Do you secretly wish that you could somehow know exactly how to determine if you're buying the right house or not for your family? And do you wish there was a way that you could find out if buying here was the right choice for you at all? Do you wonder who you can really trust, though, with helping you out on these very important decisions? Do you worry that you're going to overpay for your home? Do you feel a little financially stressed about buying your dream home? Or truthfully, does the thought of buying a home make you want to just go outside and throw up sometimes when you think about the whole thing? Listen, I have really good news. Because number one, that's very common and very normal. Buying a house is up there with major life events like getting married, having kids, deaths in the family. It's a very major big transaction of your life. Sit back. I have good news. We're going to walk you through exactly how the 5 steps of buying your dream home can be as stress-free as possible. And you know what? You're going to have a fun experience doing it, because when you do a little bit of homework up front and you have that certainty that you've made the right decision, that's when buying can become a fun experience and you can enjoy it. It can be something that you look back on fondly in life for the rest of your life, knowing that you did it absolutely right and you had a great time doing it. And you will know that you made the right decision. So, there are 5 simple secrets you need to know to buy your dream home. Now, how did I discover these 5 secrets, these 5 steps? Who am I and why do I know the 5 steps? Well, my name's Dave Galegas. I've lived in Metro Denver my whole life, 55 years. I'm a native. My wife's a native. My parents are both natives. I've done several thousand loans in the Denver area. I'm super passionate about helping our community, helping families, and really passionate about home ownership. You know what really pains me is that I hear so many stories day in and day out, people having awful experiences through this process. For me, it's a personal mission of mine to make sure that everybody has a fantastic experience. And that always starts with you finding and working with the best professionals. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. This is me and my wife, Lori, standing in front of what would become our first house in 1986. Lori was expecting our second child, Donnie. And here it is when we first moved in. I had a nice car there, didn't I? And then here's a picture of it right after we added grass and a fence. I put up that fence. You should have seen how crooked it was. And then this is that same house 7 years later when we sold it to move up to our second home. I can tell you without a doubt that one of the proudest days of my life as a husband and a father was getting that first house for my family, for my wife, and for my kids. And this is why I'm so passionate about home ownership and why I'm so passionate about helping people with this. I didn't have a very good home buying experience on my first, my second, or even my third home. And I want to teach others what I learned, what to look out for, and how to have a great experience. Because you know what? Your experience during this is directly related to the professionals that you decide to work with. There's a lot of professionals that go into making a home buying experience really positive. And so for me, I only work with the best. If you need a referral for somebody, anybody that's involved in this process, just reach out and we can help you get working with the best. I'll make a personal phone call on your behalf even. So, what are those 5 secrets? What are the 5 steps to buying your dream home in Denver? The first thing you have to do, and when you're making any decision in life, is you really have to pro and con it. As long as you understand both, then you can make a very good decision. So, what are the pros and cons of buying a home in and around Denver? First, let's talk about the pros. We have an unbelievable, unbeatable quality of life here. The climate is amazing. There's 300 days of sunshine a year. I think there's more. I've never counted. Low, if any, humidity. The mountains, I'm looking out my window here, they're literally right there. I can see them with all they provide. It's skiing, camping, hunting, and they're close. I mean, they're like right there. I ride motorcycles. I'm up there like every weekend riding around. You got skiing, camping, hunting, fishing. We've got a great, vibrant downtown. We have one of the healthiest populations in the country. We get ranked for that all the time. This is really exciting. Listen to this. The Denver area was just ranked #1 in the country, in the entire country, by Forbes magazine as the #1 place to live for businesses and careers. You know how important that is? A strong economy means job security and opportunity, which means you can feel comfortable buying a home, and it means great home appreciation opportunities down the road. We have 4 major pro sports teams. We have great schools. We have the arts. The list goes on and on. Everything around Denver and really all of Colorado. Every surrounding community, town, and suburb has so much to offer. And that's what makes buying a home here so attractive to so many people. It's just a great place to live and raise a family. I did that. I'm a native. I raised our kids. We raised 3 kids here. Denver is and always has been a very, very desirable place to live, really regardless of the economy, which is really strong right now. The fact is, people all over the country, when they come here, they love the idea of living here. So, what are those cons? Well, let's start here. Where do you work and where do you want to live? Because where you work and where you live is going to have so much to do with the quality of your life after you buy a home. Why? Well, the commute. Anyone that has been living here for any length of time at all will tell you traffic. For all the reasons I talked about, all those pros, our traffic's gotten worse, which makes sense, right? More people, more traffic. If you think it's no big deal to drive 20 or 25 miles to work every day, be careful. It all depends on what those traffic patterns are. Now, if you live on the right side of a traffic pattern, a 20-mile commute can take 20 or 30 minutes or less. But that same distance can take twice as long if you're on the wrong side of the same traffic pattern. My advice is to be sure to drive from where you're thinking about living to where you work during the same time of day you're going to drive it and see what you think. Because having a home you love and a drive you hate does not equal happiness. And so while most of those newer home communities and developments are further away from the center of the city, the red dots on this map, the value is pretty impressive. And with newer homes comes less maintenance. But you have to balance all of that out with the commute. If you have flexible work hours or you can work from home a couple times a week, maybe newer homes further away from Denver is a great option for you, right? So which parts of Denver will have new and newer homes? On this map, it's the red dot areas. It's the south side of town. I'm talking about Highlands Ranch, Parker, Castle Rock. On the east side, like all along that E470 corridor, the north side of town, Brighton, Henderson, Frederick, Firestone, north of the airport. And then the northwest side of town, Broomfield, parts of Arvada. You get up into the Longmont area, closer to Boulder. And then on the west side of town, Golden and Morrison. Every one of these communities have their character, and they're all great places to live and raise a family. But again, you got to take the time to analyze that commute. If you plan well, this can be an easy decision for you to make. Just don't feel like you have to decide on one place before you take that commute into consideration. Don't buy a home that in 2 years you're dying to sell because of the commute. It's expensive. This is the key thing. This is really important. Not all the newer home communities are on the outside, further away. There's a lot of parts of town now where you're seeing land being redeveloped and whole communities are being built. There's a new development that's going to go in. 12,000 homes are going to be built right near Chatfield Reservoir. There's a new home development going up at the corner of University and Arapahoe, University and Dry Creek area. So you're going to see a lot of that. And in a lot of the older neighborhoods closer to Denver proper, you'll see many homes that are scrapes. People have literally torn down the home that was there, put up a brand new home. It's a new build, right? It's been built in the last 4 or 5, 6 years. Probably cost a little more per square foot than it would out in Parker, but you've got to trade that off with your 10 or 15 miles further away. So keep that in mind. So, what are the pros and cons of a brand new home versus buying a resale? Well, that's a great question. New homes are brand new homes, right? No one has lived there. And while everyone likes that, you got all new stuff. You get the latest and greatest of everything. You're the first person to move in. No one's lived there. Who doesn't like that? But it can come with its own set of challenges. Most of the newer developments, again, like I said, further away from the center of town. Our first home was brand new. You saw that picture. We liked that a lot, but man, we had a lot of work to do. And you got the classic hang the bed sheets in the window situation for me because we didn't have the money right away for nice window coverings. Plus, we had to put that yard in, that fence. We had to build a patio. So it was nice to have all that new, everything on the inside was brand new. The cons were we had to spend a lot of money and we had a lot of work to do to make it our own, and we had to do it pretty fast. When you buy resale, it probably already has those things. Many, and you don't have to change everything right away. There's not the same need to do it right now. And for me, the biggest benefit to buying resale is that landscaping's in place. There's a saying that when you plant a tree in your yard, you're planting it for the guy you're selling the house to because it's a 30-foot tree is 10 years down the road. So I live in a home today that was built in 1965, and the trees in my yard were planted in 1965. I love that. And with the climate in Colorado, enjoying the outside of your house is easily as important as the inside. So the cons of older homes, of course, is you got your maintenance costs, which are probably going to be higher depending on the age of the home. Older the home, the older everything is on the inside and the outside of the home, unless it's all been updated, of course. You're not getting the latest and greatest of everything if it hasn't been all remodeled and updated. So those are the cons. So with so many options and factors to consider, how do you figure out where to buy? Well, this is the second step. And it's so simple. You ready? Do your research. You're buying a home. It's the most expensive investment most of us ever make. You got to make sure that you're getting what you want. Now, you're not going to get perfect the first time out. There's a process, right? But you got to do your research. There's so many great places to live with so many different neighborhoods within those areas. To simply settle on what you want without research is crazy to me, especially if you don't know what the different areas of town have to offer. What do I mean by research? It's pretty simple. It's get in your car and drive. After you narrow down the parts of towns you like. Nothing beats driving through those actual neighborhoods to get a feel for what they're like, how close they are to all the conveniences and amenities that are important to you. The schools, the parks, the restaurants. I go nuts when I hear that a buyer felt pressure to buy a home the realtor really wanted them to buy. There's just no reason for that. You should fire the agent that makes you feel that way. So, do your research. Drive those neighborhoods. The more the better. Listen, realtors are not paid to drive you around and chauffeur you around town. That's not their job. That's your job. Figure out where you want to be, then engage the realtor to help you narrow down. You have to consider everything that we've covered so far and then some. That's the whole idea behind the research. I'm going to hit on HOA neighborhoods for a second. This is an important thing to take into consideration. Say you own a boat and you're planning on parking it in the driveway or on the side of your house. A neighborhood with a homeowners association may not allow that. Or, on the other side of that, if you never want to live next door to the guy with the boat in his driveway or one of those Greyhound bus RVs, those big things, you might want an HOA neighborhood. Here's the best advice you're going to get when it comes to this. Do not, I repeat, do not rely on what that current owner or the realtor is going to tell you about what you can and can't do in the neighborhood. Guys, there are pros and cons to HOA neighborhoods. Do your research. After you close, a strong HOA will make sure you follow the rules for the neighborhood. This is truly buyer beware territory. We'll talk later about how to make sure you work with the top performance realtors in Denver and not someone that treats this like a hobby and hopes you buy the first place that they show you. So especially if you're buying a home and you plan to do extensive research, especially if you're buying a home, you plan to do extensive outdoor upgrading, then find out what they will and won't allow before you buy. Because once you are the new owner, it's too late. Now, this may sound like I'm anti-HOA. I'm not. In fact, I want to live in the neighborhood with one because I don't want to live next door to the guy with the bus-sized RV parked outside my back door. But that's me. Okay? I'm not saying I'm right or wrong about that. It's just what I want. You may want the neighborhood that will let you park the boat, the RV, the trailers. It's about personal preferences, and you need to make sure you're getting yours met. So, the third secret and the third real step in order to buy your dream home and be very confident in it is to really understand the finances, understand the numbers, really understand what a mortgage payment is, really understand what that does to your net worth. This is probably the biggest mistake that I see that almost everybody makes, okay? So I'm just going to throw out some big numbers here. People that own houses tend to have $174,000 more of net worth in America than people who rent. That's a fact, okay? It's huge. It's gigantic. I believe owning a home changes everything about our financial futures. That's for you and for your family. It can be the difference between you always struggling to make ends meet and being able to send your kids to college in 15 or 20 years. That's why I'm so passionate about helping people with this. America was built because of the mortgage. They give us that interest tax and that property tax deduction. It was built, we really became America because of home ownership. One of the biggest mistakes that I see, what I describe in finance, is called cash flow analysis. People get very myopic or short-sighted about what's their monthly payment. I hear it all the time. What's my monthly payment? What's my monthly payment? That's where all their stress and anxiety is. It's all about that monthly payment, but they never spend the time to do the homework up front. So to really understand what the difference is between a mortgage and rent, the difference in between of those payments, in a mortgage payment, what we have, even if it's slightly higher than rent, you get principal reduction, okay? Now what that means is it's paying down your loan. That's just a forced savings account, okay? So let's say your mortgage payment here, without taxes and insurance, let's just talk about principal and interest payments versus rent payments. If your mortgage payment is around, say, $1,700 with, again, no taxes or insurance in this, on average, more than 500 of that is going to reduce your loan balance. So your true cost, if you take a $1,700 payment, take out $500 for that. And that's $1,200 right now. That's your true cost. That's the interest. Now, yes, you have to write a check for $1,700. I get it. But let's just use this example. And again, no taxes or insurance. I just want to break this down and let you know why it's so much more financially viable to own than it is to rent. Now, let's talk interest and property tax deductions. I'm not going to try to describe every scenario since everyone's situation is different, depending on income, if you're a single or a joint filer or whatever. You really need to make sure you're working with a tax professional when you're doing this. And again, let us know. We'll refer you to the very best. But my story, I always knew I would save on my income tax when I bought a home. That's what everybody said. You know, you're going to save on taxes. That's great. But I never knew exactly how it worked. This sounds really dumb. I was 26. The first full year I was in my home, though, we sat down to do our taxes, and I was getting like a $3,000 refund. And before I would get like $500. We were celebrating like we'd won the lottery. But I got to thinking that all I had really done all year was have $250 a month more than I needed withheld from my take-home pay. And that extra $250 a month in take-home pay would have made a huge difference since I was making like 36 grand a year at the time, 3 grand a month. The point I'm making is this. Most people are going to see some savings on their income tax, and that savings needs to be factored into the true net cost of your monthly payment. Heck, if you only save $50 a month or $600 a year in taxes, it all adds up and becomes part of that net analysis. The point is, you've got to know your numbers, and maybe for you it makes sense to get a true picture of that tax savings from a tax professional. Let us know. We'll refer you to the very best. Now, the other major thing that people forget when they're doing any kind of mortgage versus rent comparison or calculation is inflation. And this is a big deal, people, so pay attention. And inflation happens in our society, okay? Inflation, what it basically means is prices rise, okay? That's inflation. Inflation usually averages the same of what appreciation rate is with homes, okay? So let me just give you a really easy way to do this. Over time, not a short period of time. You can't go 1 month or 1 year to the next. Over a period of time, a large sample of time. Let's say houses tend to appreciate between 2 and 3% of their value every year, okay? Let's say in Denver, Colorado, the median sales price is about $330,000 for a house right now. That's the median price. So 3% is that between $9,000 and $10,000 a year, your house is going to go up in value just because inflation happens. It's happened ever since we've been on the monetary cycle that we're currently on. Another part that a lot of people forget about what they're really involved in, like, is what is my absolute maximum monthly payment that I can't afford one more dollar and that whole thing. Remember, you're also getting about an extra $9,000 to $10,000 on that example every year added to your net worth. When you factor that in, guys, you can see that almost a mortgage payment gets factored. It's almost zero. It's almost zero on what your true cost is because you're getting all those benefits. Rent, the exact opposite happens, okay? I don't see this a lot when I do these numbers with people. In rent, inflation still happens, meaning rent goes up. If you decided, you know what, I'm just going to go cheaper, I'm going to rent. Your $1,600 payment probably next year is going to be $1,700, right? And now you go out 5 or 10 years from now. The same house is going to be costing you $2,500 to $3,000 a month. That same house is going to cost you more money, and you have nothing. Nothing's built up. You've saved nothing from this rent payment. You get no part of appreciation. You get no part of this inflation. You're not getting any part of the compounding effect here of owning a home. When you really understand this, it helps to ease that anxiety of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm paying a $300,000 or $400,000. I can't believe I'm paying $300,000 or $400,000 for a house, or whatever you're paying out here for a house. It helps when you understand that. Yes, those numbers are, you need to figure that out. But you also keep that big picture in mind. This is a way that you're really getting net worth for you and your family. The fourth secret to having a completely stress-free home experience is I really want to just take a second and break the loan myth, okay? We swung on a very wide pendulum in this business, okay? In the 2000s, it was absolutely, completely easy. You needed a heartbeat and a credit score, and not even a very good one. And that's it to get a mortgage, okay? That wasn't normal. What was normal is what's been going on since the 70s. All the way from the 70s all the way to the early 2000s. You had to give W-2s, pay stubs, credit reports. You had to actually prove that you had the ability to repay the loan. That's not a bad thing, okay? It's really not. And that's all we've swung back to. It's no harder to get a loan right now than it has been throughout their history of getting loans. What was different was the aberration in the 2000s when it was extremely easy, okay? Right now, it's not what the media says. You don't need perfect credit and a 20% down payment. That is just false, okay? That's not the truth, guys. It's not. It's really, really not. It really just comes down to three major things. You know, your credit, you have to prove that you have the ability to repay, and if you don't have the ability to repay, why would anyone give you a loan? It's just not what we would do. The credit's a big, big deal, and that's right. It's right. It's okay. If we were going to loan somebody your money, you'd want to know that they have a history of repaying back their loans. But again, it doesn't need to be perfect. You gotta get that down. It doesn't need to be perfect credit. Now, you need to have income so that you have the money in order to pay it back. Now, that comes from your pay stubs, your W-2s, and your tax returns. And you need to have some assets. You need to prove that you have money in the bank, money in savings. Number one, I don't think you should buy a home if you don't have some reserves. You can't just be one paycheck away from missing a mortgage payment. But that's just me. And that's what we're going to be looking at. It's not hard. When you step back and you say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Now pay attention because this part's so important. There is a huge difference between what every lender thinks is a pre-approval. I'm cutting to the chase here, but it's simple. You're either getting a loan or you're not getting a loan every single time. And if a lender has not examined your pay stubs, your W-2s, your bank statements, and your tax returns, and everything else that comes up after they see those things, then you're taking a huge risk that you are not getting a loan. You should demand a full document pre-approval, and those are the only ones that we do here. And we guarantee your pre-approval is accurate or we will pay. We can explain this to you more if you like. Just let us know. I get so mad when I hear the stories of people that were promised a loan, they put a home under contract, they wrote checks, and then they lost all of it. And they had no place to go because they told their landlords they were moving out because of the incompetence of the so-called professionals in the process that are supposed to be looking out for you. They took shortcuts that lead to heartbreak for you and for the sellers, for the buyers and the sellers. That's the reason we guarantee our work here, guys. I get very fired up about this, you can tell. Okay, the fifth secret or step. And this is one of the ones that I see people make a lot of mistakes with, okay? Get that full document pre-approval first. Not one of those 5-minute pre-approvals. I call those Swiss cheese pre-approvals. They're full of holes, okay? Why? Well, there are two components to our brains that come in when we buy a home. There's the logical part, which is the numbers, and then there's the emotional part, which is when you walk into a house. How does that feel? The neighborhood, how does it feel? Can you picture yourself in the kitchen cooking up on Saturday morning your pancakes for the family? All that stuff's very important. Now, what happened through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s is because we didn't have the internet back then. You had to call a realtor on the phone to go look at homes. People tended to get emotional first before they get logical about the numbers. If you want to have a completely stress-free home experience, before you get emotional about being in a home and that whole thing happens, you need to take the time to sit down with a professional. Go over the numbers. Make sure you understand exactly what the numbers are, and make sure that you understand how that impacts your future life and your current life financially. Get that pre-approval guaranteed completely squared away so that you have the peace of mind that you know that the range that you can afford comfortably, you feel comfortable, and you know that you're going to get the loan. And you can have an absolutely wonderful, it will feel great when you go out to make an offer and you know you're getting the loan. You don't have all that buyer's remorse. You can make it very, very strategically. You can get the best deal for your house, for yourself. You can get that emotional process a little bit too. Sit down with a mortgage professional first. Remember what I said. You're either getting a loan or not every single time. And you can know that for sure before you go out shopping. You need to work with someone that's good, someone that has high character, that knows the area. It's important to work with a lender that knows the area because with HOAs and property taxes, they got to know all the nuances. Someone that has a command of all the best programs and the best ways to structure a financing based on your particular situation. Look, you can't and you don't want to have your family end up in a hotel somewhere if a loan doesn't work, if you get denied at the last minute. And for this, I really see a tremendous value in going with somebody that's a local hometown professional that knows the other professionals in the area that can just really make this seamless for you. That's one of the major secrets that I see. Now, I talked about this earlier, but the professionals that are helping will make or break you in this process. We only work with the best agents in town that put the client first, and that's what we're going to do is help you make sure that you're working with only the best. So today, I promised I would show you how to know if the Denver area is right for your family. I promised how to know what is the right neighborhood for your family, how to find the best local professionals to work with, and we work with hundreds of agents every single month. I can tell you they're not all created equal. We know who the best ones are, which means you will know who they are as well, so that you can be completely at peace with the mortgage process and the home buying process. So let's just go over this again. What you need to win is you really to make great decisions in life, whether it's buying a home or anything else that you're doing, understand the pros and cons. Write them out, okay? I've taught my kids this. Write them out. Write out the pros and the cons. I can tell you this is a fantastic, fantastic city to live in. But a commute will beat you down if you don't understand it. And you really, really need to take the time to find out if it's right for you. Understand the differences in the neighborhoods. It's quality of people's lives versus the neighborhood, okay? I've given you a really big broad stroke on that. I think what I would also recommend is come on in. Let's get that pre-approval done. We can hook you up with some of the best realtors, the ones that really know this stuff and that think like we do, that are way into customer service. Hopefully, I've given you a good understanding of how to evaluate the pros and cons of each neighborhood, or how to do the research. So you got to do that. The third thing is know the numbers. Take the time, call us, sit down with us, know those numbers first so that you can have the peace of it, because this process is very anxiety producing if you don't really have a command of those numbers first. The fourth thing, what you need to know is that you don't need to be nervous about loan programs. Okay, you do have to prove that you have the ability to repay, but that shouldn't be something that stresses you out, right? And if, by the way, we'll get you there. If you're motivated to buy and maybe you're just not sure what, you can't do it just yet, that's what we do. We'll help you walk through how to get ready to buy. That's our goal. That's our plan. And again, it makes sense. It's logical that you have to prove that you have the ability to pay. We don't want to go through what we went through in 2008, guys. We really don't. It's bad for everybody. It's if you live next door to the guy who gets foreclosed on, it's not good for you. So keep that in mind. Then number 5, do it this way. Get pre-approved first. When you're still being logical about it, before you go out and fall in love with a house, get pre-approved when you have the time to really understand the numbers. Get before you start running around looking at houses, or even really before you start looking at places online. Okay? Because once that starts happening, there's a different part of our brain that kicks in. It's very emotional. I've seen people bust their budget by $100,000 or $200,000 just because of an emotional response. Okay? That what will happen is it's not going to be a good experience for you, because when that buyer's remorse sets in, or when something bad goes on in the transaction and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did this. Get pre-approved first when you're logical. I know it's not the fun part of buying a house. It's way more fun to go out and look around and go, I love this. Do all that once it's done and you have the numbers really taken care of. Listen, here's what I want you to do right now. Look at the screen, and you can go to the link meetme.so/Dave Galegas, or you can just click that arrow, sign up now, to the right. When you click that button, it's going to take you to a calendar page, and then you just click whatever appointment you want, totally up to you. All the available open times are right there. Just pick a time that you want, and we're going to give you a call at that time, and then we're just going to go to work. We're going to go right to work. My personal mission is 100% success rate with everybody to have a fantastic buying experience. Remember what I said. It's about you working only with the very best professionals, and we're going to make that happen for you. Look, my wife and I were just like you, motivated to buy a home. Everyone telling you it's easy to buy, it's no big deal, right? But in reality, you're intimidated, afraid of being taken advantage of, and really just looking for someone you can trust. That's exactly how we felt when we wanted to buy. I get it. So I want you to go to the link on this page, click the arrow, go right to our calendar, find an appointment that works for you, and we'll take it from there. Set up a time, and then we're going to go through all the steps with you. First, we're going to walk you through the whole home buying process so you know and understand what to expect every step of the way. Then we work on you knowing your numbers. Then we'll help you build your plan. And when it's time, we'll make sure that you get a guaranteed accurate, full document pre-approval. Yes, we'll even meet you in our office if that's what you want. This is our specialty. It's what we do, it's what we love, and it's what we're really good at. Here is what we strive for with every home buyer we serve. I'm going to read you a testimonial that we just got. This lady writes, "From the time I came in contact with the folks at Hallmark to the final transaction, I was so impressed with the business and the professional skills that I witnessed. They answered all my questions, kept me informed of timelines, and they made me feel valued. The knowledge and the explanation of the process gave me the confidence that I needed to trust them completely to get the job done. And they did more than that. The breakdown in the projected closing costs, they ended up being less than expected, which is what they told me would happen. That was a huge bonus for me. I'm so grateful for the hard work and the effort put forth to get all the final paperwork done in record time, as it was a very short closing. They did an excellent job for me, and I am now a very happy homeowner, and I would recommend them to anyone looking for a reliable lender." Guys, this is what it's all about for me. I shared it with you because this can happen for you. The horror stories you may have heard don't have to be your experience. That's my promise to you. Let's make this a fantastic buying experience. So, look at the screen, just go to the link, and click that arrow. When you click that button, it takes you to the calendar page. The appointment slots are there. Pick a time that you want, and we're going to give you a call at that time. We really look forward to meeting you. Have a fantastic day. I hope this was informative to you, and I really hope to talk to you soon.